You're not watching this by accident. Something greater brought you here. You didn't stumble into this video. You were led, marked, chosen. Long before your first breath. These 7 visions are not ordinary. They're not earthly. And they're not human. They are divine codes. Keys from the realm that cannot be seen with the eyes. Only the awakened soul can recognize their presence. These visions were never meant for the masses. They were hidden, reserved. For the ones who carry the mark, the ones who were whispered to in the dark, who have always felt like they didn't belong, who've dreamed of places that don't exist, who've seen things no one else around them could explain. If you've ever stood at the edge of sleep and saw a staircase in the void, if you've ever found yourself in a dream, staring at a door with no handle, if you've seen a blinding light with no source or a shadow that stood silent, yet spoke to your soul, then you already know. These weren't just dreams. They weren't the noise of the mind. They were messages, encoded signals from heaven itself. And what you're about to hear is not information. It's activation. Each of these 7 visions contains a spiritual frequency. And the moment you hear the one meant for you, something inside you will shift, not just emotionally, but spiritually, eternally. Because some visions don't just speak, they awaken. And the 7th vision? It won't just awaken you. It will unseal what has been buried in your soul for lifetimes. So listen carefully, not with your ears, but with your spirit. Because those who are truly chosen, they don't hear with the body. They feel it, right here, in the center of the chest. That burning, that stirring, that's not anxiety. That's recognition. Your soul remembers what your mind forgot. And now, everything is about to come back. Before we begin, if something in you is already moving, if you feel the pull, the heat, the pressure in your chest, that's not coincidence, that's confirmation. So pause for a moment and honor it. Like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment 99 below. Why 99? Because 99 means unfinished. It means you're the one that heaven left behind to complete what others abandoned. And tonight, your completion begins. Prepare yourself, because the first vision is already watching you. Have you ever closed your eyes and suddenly found yourself standing before a staircase that leads into nothing, not up to a building, not down to a basement, but into somewhere that feels ancient, sacred, and unknown? Maybe the steps were glowing with light. Maybe they were cracked and lost in shadow. Maybe you couldn't even see the end, just the beginning. Waiting. This is not a dream. This is a summons. The stairway of transition is one of the rarest visions. It does not appear to everyone. Only those who have reached a threshold, where who they were can no longer carry who they are becoming. Each step is a decision. Each level is a dimension of spiritual sight. And the reason most people never climb is because the staircase requires surrender. You see, in this vision, you're not just being shown a path. You're being asked a question, one that heaven won't speak out loud, but your soul hears it clearly. Are you willing to rise, even if it means leaving everything behind? Because here's what most never tell you. The higher you go, the more of your old self will fall away. This staircase doesn't elevate your ego. It dismantles it. The first step may look easy, but it shakes the ground behind you. Suddenly, people you've known your whole life don't recognize you. Dreams you once chased lose their meaning. Habits that comforted you begin to rot in your hands. This is not punishment, it's purification. The chosen ones don't climb for status. They climb because their spirit aches for more. Not more success, not more applause, but more truth, more God, more of what this world cannot name. The staircase will appear at strange times, in the middle of a dream, while you're praying, even in moments of deep silence, where suddenly you feel like you're being pulled upward from the inside. That pull, it's real. It's not just in your mind. It's encoded into your soul. And when the staircase shows itself, it means the clock has started ticking. You can't unsee it. You can't ignore it. To hesitate is to delay your own transformation. And there's something else most miss. The stairs are not always stable. Sometimes, as you ascend, one step disappears behind you. That's how you know you're truly rising, because there's no going back. This vision isn't about comfort. It's about calling. And no one climbs without feeling fear. But fear is not your enemy here. Staying still is. Because the longer you stare at the first step without moving, the heavier your spirit becomes. You weren't meant to stay on the ground forever. If this vision has come to you, it's because heaven has weighed your spirit and found it ready, even if you don't feel prepared, even if your hands are trembling, even if the stairs make no logical sense. Faith begins where logic ends, and the ones who climb, they begin to see things others can't. They receive revelations between steps. They begin to remember who they were before this life, and who they're becoming after this world. So let me ask you now, are you climbing, or are you still standing there staring at the step that was made just for your feet? Afraid to move? Because somewhere above that staircase, there is a moment waiting for you, where heaven opens up and everything changes, and that moment might be closer than you think. But before you take that step, before you even lift your foot off the ground, you must hear what lies beyond the door. Because vision, too, doesn't wait for those who knock timidly. It opens only for those who know how to trust without control. And once you hear what that door really means, you'll never see your unanswered prayers the same again. You see it, a door, just standing there. It doesn't belong. It's not attached to a wall or a house or anything you can name. It just exists, still, silent, watching you as much as you're watching it. Your instinct says, open it. But as you walk closer, you realize something disturbing. There is no handle, no keyhole, no hinges, no crack in the frame. Just a perfect, seamless door that refuses to be opened by force. This is no ordinary vision. It's one of the rarest signals from the spiritual realm, and it carries a message that shakes the very core of human nature. You are not in control. We've been trained to believe that doors open when we push, when we twist, when we do something. But this door doesn't care how hard you try. It will not respond to your strength. It will not reward your intellect. It will not bend to your impatience. Because this is not a test of action. It's a test of trust. You've been told to knock. But what do you do when there's nothing to knock on? What do you do when heaven goes silent? This vision represents a sacred paradox. The opportunity of a lifetime, hidden behind a door that won't open until your soul surrenders completely. It is God's door, and no human hand can force it open. Some stare at it and walk away. They say, it must not be meant for me. Others camp beside it, praying and begging, but grow bitter when nothing moves. But the chosen ones, they know something deeper. They understand that this door does not open with time. It opens with alignment. Not when you're anxious. Not when you're striving. Not when you're full of questions. It opens when your spirit matches its frequency. When your faith outweighs your need to control. Because this door is not a punishment. It's a mirror. It shows you how much you've really surrendered. Not with your words, but with your energy. Have you ever had a moment in life where everything looked like it was about to change? And then, nothing. The job didn't come. The prayer didn't get answered. The person left. The breakthrough vanished. That was the door. Not denying you, but watching you, waiting to see if you would trust God, even when the path went dark. Because here's what almost no one understands. Sometimes God will bring you to the place of breakthrough, and then pause everything. Not because you're being punished, but because your spirit still believes it has to earn what was always meant to be received. The door with no handle is not a rejection. It's a divine invitation to stop trying to manipulate the blessing and instead surrender to its timing. You don't need to know when it will open. You just need to know that when it does, nothing will ever be the same again. The chosen. Ones feel this door long before they see it. They feel the pressure building in the unseen. They wake up with tears they can't explain. They feel trapped between almost and not yet. But listen carefully. If you've seen this door in your dreams, if you've stood before it, confused, angry, or desperate, it means you are closer than you think, because the door appears only when the opening is near. You wouldn't be shown the vision if your spirit wasn't approaching the threshold. And once it opens, what comes through it doesn't just change your path, it changes you. But be warned. This door doesn't open with impatience. It opens with readiness. And heaven will never open a door that your character can't carry. So I ask you now, are you still trying to force what can only be received? Are you pacing before the door when you should be still, trusting, listening? Because if you can pass this test, if you can stop grabbing and start trusting, then what's behind that door will rush in like a flood. And it's not just opportunity, it's revelation, it's alignment. It's the moment that your entire purpose unfolds. And just when you think you're ready to walk through it, you'll realize something even greater. You're not just meant to walk through doors. You were born to open them for others. But before we go there, you need to understand why the silence before the opening is so important. Because in the next vision, we leave the doorway and descend into something much deeper, a place that exists outside of time. And in that place, everything you thought was forgotten will start calling your name. Darkness. Total. Consuming. Infinite. You don't know how you got here. There are no walls, no floor, no sky. Just the feeling of falling. Without movement. You try to speak, but your voice gets swallowed by silence. You try to move, but there's nothing to push against. You're suspended in nothingness, weightless, invisible. And just when the void begins to suffocate you, it happens, a flash. No, more than a flash. A presence, a light. But not like the sun, or a lamp, or even fire. This light doesn't come from anything, it just is. It bursts through the blackness, not to illuminate your surroundings, but to awaken something inside you. This is not ordinary light. It doesn't come with shape. It doesn't cast shadows. It doesn't follow logic. This is the light of revelation. It's what prophets saw before they spoke. It's what Paul saw before he was unmade. It's what Moses saw in the bush that burned but was never consumed. And now, it's being shown to you. But why? Why would a light with no source, no explanation, no form, reveal itself to you? Because your blindness was no longer justifiable. Because God has decided it's time for you to see. This light does not appear randomly. It is a summons, a divine disruption, a holy interruption of your false reality. When you see this light in the void, you are not being comforted. You are being confronted. Every lie you believed about yourself, every label you wore that God never gave you, every wall you built to keep pain out, this light burns through them all. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for your readiness. It pierces, because heaven knows, if it doesn't blind you to the illusion, you'll stay blind to the truth. You thought you were just depressed. You thought you were just lost. You thought the silence meant abandonment. But the silence was preparation. God wasn't ignoring you. He was setting the stage. Because revelation doesn't come in comfort. It comes in collapse. It comes when everything else has failed. When you have no map, no mentor, no method left, only void and light, and that's where vision is born. This is not just spiritual poetry. This is biblical reality. In Genesis, what came first? Darkness, and then light. You are reliving the original moment of creation, but this time it's happening inside you. This light is the spark of your rebirth. It does not just show you what's around you. It shows you who you've always been beneath the layers of survival. You were told you were broken, but this light shows you were only buried. You were told to shrink, but this light commands you to expand. And just like that, the void becomes sacred. The emptiness becomes a temple, because now you know. It wasn't the light that found you. It was the darkness that delivered you to it. The chosen ones see this light not with their eyes, but with their inner vision. They don't always know what it means, but they can never forget what it felt like. And if you've seen it, you've already been marked. Marked to break illusion, marked to carry vision, marked to reveal what others cannot even perceive. But with this calling comes weight, because once you've seen the light, you can't go back. The world won't look the same. People won't sound the same. Even your pain will start speaking in a new language. And here's the most sacred truth of all. The light wasn't meant to lead you out of the void. It was meant to teach you how to carry it within you, because there will be more voids, more moments of silence, more seasons of shadow. But from now on, you will not fear the dark, because you've become the thing it fears most, a carrier of revelation. And just when your spirit begins to settle into this new identity, just when the light within you begins to stabilize, something else stirs, something older, something buried, something that remembers who you were before the world taught you to forget. Because the next vision doesn't come from above. It rises from within. Prepare yourself. The next vision is not a moment. It's a landscape, a realm where every forgotten piece of your soul still breathes, and it's calling your name. There's a presence. You've felt it. Not loud, not threatening, just there, watching. You're walking through the edge of a dream, or maybe through a place your spirit has been before. And suddenly, you know, you're not alone. You turn. No face, no voice, no movement, just a figure, a shadow, standing at the threshold. It doesn't step forward, it doesn't speak, but its silence screams. Its stillness shakes you, and yet, this is not terror. It's something deeper, sharper, ancient. It's discernment. You're not being haunted, you're being watched, but not in the way the world thinks. This isn't evil. This isn't random. This is training, because the chosen ones must learn to recognize what others are too numb to feel. This shadow isn't there to scare you. It's there to awaken your spiritual senses. God is showing you something vital. Not all darkness is loud. Some of it wears masks. Some of it smiles. Some of it looks just like light. And unless you've seen the real thing, you'll never spot the imitation. This vision is a test, not of your courage, but of your perception. Because your gift is not just seeing angels. It's recognizing the wolves that wear halos. And if you've seen the shadow, if you've felt its gaze, you are being entrusted with the sacred burden of watching. Watchers are rare. They are the ones who walk through both day and night, and never stop seeing. They feel shifts in the atmosphere. They sense lies behind smiles. They know when something unseen is trying to slip in unnoticed. You may have been told you were too sensitive, that you overthink things, that you see problems where there are none. But the truth is, you were born with radar. You were made to detect what others miss. You are the one who feels heavy in places no one else does. The one who wakes up midnight with your heart racing, not from nightmares, but from unseen battles waged in silence. You are not imagining it. You are perceiving it because God placed the spiritual alarm system inside you, and it doesn't lie. The shadow you saw, it may not have moved, but its presence was a signal. It marked the activation of your spiritual authority. You're not called to fear darkness. You're called to expose it, but not with loud declarations, with still eyes, with silent discernment, with unshakable presence. Watchers don't need to announce their power. They simply know. This is why you've been attacked, in subtle ways. Why some people seem uncomfortable around you. Even though you've done nothing wrong, they feel it. Even if they can't explain it. Your presence disrupts their deception. Your very existence makes hidden things uneasy. Because the shadow that watches is not the only one watching anymore. You are. You've stepped into the role of the guardian, not over cities or churches, but over realms, realms of influence, realms of intercession, realms where destinies hang by threads, and one whisper of discernment could shift the entire outcome. This is not about paranoia. This is about spiritual readiness. The shadow you saw may appear again, in different forms, in different moments. But from now on, you won't just see it. You'll recognize it. You'll know when the atmosphere changes. You'll feel when something unseen walks into the room. And you'll be equipped to act, not in fear, but in authority. Because the true power of the chosen ones is not just in what they speak, but in what they perceive. And now that you've seen the shadow, you can never unsee it. You've crossed a threshold. You've been initiated. You're part of the silent guard, the ones heaven trusts to keep watch while others sleep. And just when you think the vision is complete, you realize the shadow wasn't the test, it was the signal. Because what comes next isn't about what's watching you. It's about what awaits you. A place beyond maps, a realm few remember. But your soul has never forgotten. Prepare yourself. The next vision is not seen with eyes. It is remembered by the soul. And it will bring you face to face with what you left behind, but were always meant to reclaim. You close your eyes, and suddenly you're somewhere else. Not in a city, not in your home, but in a place your feet have never touched. And yet, your soul recognizes it. A wide open sky, mountains in the distance that rise like ancient witnesses, rivers that glow with light instead of water, forests that breathe, and a stillness so pure it silences every fear. You've never been there, but you know this place. It doesn't appear on any map. No GPS can guide you to it. No one else has seen it. Yet the moment you stand within it, even if only in a vision, something inside you whispers, "You've been here before." And it's true, because this landscape doesn't exist in the physical world. It exists in memory, not of the mind, but of the soul. This is the place where you began, before the noise, before the trauma, before the battles and betrayals and bruises of this earthly life. There was this, a realm of light, a sacred space, where you walked with God, where you knew who you were, where your purpose wasn't something you searched, for it was all around you. This vision is not fantasy, it's not delusion, it's not a dream, it's a reminder. Because before you were born in the flesh, you were alive in the spirit, chosen, marked, prepared, and in this realm, this impossible landscape, you were given your assignment. That's why this place feels like home, because it was. Every tree, every sound, every breeze, it speaks to something buried deep inside you, something the world tried to erase, something time tried to make you forget. But this vision is heaven's way of saying, you still remember. And that memory is sacred. Look around. even in the vision. Do you notice how nothing feels threatening? How peace isn't just present. It's built into the very fabric of the place. That's because in this realm, fear doesn't exist. Confusion has no voice, and lies have never been spoken. This is the place of your true name. The name only heaven calls you. The name written in light. You weren't born lost. You were born with a map. And this vision, this mysterious, otherworldly landscape, is the compass. The chosen ones don't just see the future, they remember the before. Because their calling didn't start on earth. It started in eternity. You've been feeling displaced, like nothing satisfies, like this world doesn't quite fit around you. That's because you were never meant to conform to it. You were sent to shift it. You carry pieces of that sacred realm inside you. And when you operate from that memory, you become a living portal of divine atmosphere. When you pray, when you speak, when you walk into a room, you bring traces of that world into this one. It's why some people are drawn to you, without knowing why. It's why others resist you, without explanation. They're responding to the realm behind your eyes, to the memory behind your presence, to the mission you haven't fully remembered, but can no longer ignore. You didn't create your purpose. You were sent with it, and now, in this vision, you're being reintroduced to the place where that purpose was born. This is the garden before Eden, the mountain before Sinai, the land before exile. You were there, not by accident, but by divine intention. And now, the vision is back. Because the assignment is being reawakened. Don't ignore the feeling. Don't rationalize it away. Don't let the world convince you this is just your imagination, because what you're seeing isn't coming from you. It's coming through you, the landscape. That doesn't exist, does exist in heaven's archive. And only those who carry eternal purpose are permitted to see it again. So ask yourself, why now? Why this vision at this moment? Because something is being restored. A truth, a memory, a path back to your origin. You are not becoming something new. You are remembering who you were before the world made you forget. And just as you begin to settle into this sacred place, just as the peace begins to wrap around you like a blanket of eternity, you see it, at the far end of the landscape, where the river of light meets the sky, there is a gate, massive, glowing, and it begins to open, but not all the way, just enough to reveal one thing. The next vision, the final one, is not a place. It's not a stairway, a door, a light, or a shadow. It's something deeper. It's not something you step into. It's something that awakens inside you. You're alone, no music, no thunder, no words, but something speaks, not to your ears, to your spirit. It doesn't echo, it doesn't shout, it doesn't even whisper, and yet you hear it, so clearly, so undeniably, that you freeze, because it doesn't come from outside you, it rises within. This is the voice that has no mouth, no language, no accent, because it's not spoken in sound, it's spoken in revelation. The chosen ones don't always hear God the way others expect. No burning bush, no parting skies. Sometimes, it's just a sudden knowing, a download of truth, a weightless certainty that settles into the soul like light into water. And once it arrives, nothing feels the same. Your thoughts shift, your priorities rearrange. Your path becomes illuminated without a single word being spoken. This is the realm of divine silence, the place where the Holy Spirit speaks without speaking, and it's not imagination, it's not emotion, it's not intuition, it's spirit to spirit. Transmission. Encrypted truth sent from heaven directly into your being. But why does God speak this way? Because the chosen are not just called to listen. They're called to discern. Anyone can hear a sound. But it takes spiritual maturity to recognize a message that arrives in stillness. You are not just being trained to hear, you are being trained to perceive, to feel the weight of God's will, without needing thunder to confirm it. You're being activated to walk in divine precision, to sense when to move, when to wait, when to speak, and when to remain silent. That knowing you've felt, that strange, almost electric clarity that jolts through your chest out of nowhere, that was not your conscience. That was not your own idea. That was the Spirit of God releasing direction without noise. And here's the mystery. The less God speaks out loud, the closer He is, because those who walk closest with Him don't always need confirmation. They carry alignment. God is teaching you the language of silence, because that's the language of power. The greatest breakthroughs in Scripture often began in quiet moments. A prophet waiting in a cave, a boy lying beside the ark, a savior praying in a garden. Not chaos, not shouting, just stillness, and a voice that doesn't need sound to be heard. And when this voice speaks, it doesn't suggest. It transforms. One moment you're doubting. Then the message arrives, not in words, but in clarity. And suddenly, the fear is gone. The fog lifts, and you know what to do. You don't know how you know. You just do. You sense which person is sent by heaven, and which one carries hidden shadows. You feel the weight behind a decision, even before the facts arrive. You recognize doors to avoid and paths to run toward, not because anyone told you, but because something inside told you. This is what it means to move in divine wisdom, not reaction, but revelation. And only those who have surrendered control are entrusted with this kind of communication, because you can't receive in silence. If your mind is still screaming for control, that's why this vision comes after the stairway, after the door, after the light, after the shadow, after the forgotten landscape. Because by now, your spirit is ready to hear what ears cannot. This voice doesn't entertain. It entrusts. It entrusts secrets, strategies, timing, assignments that are too holy for the noise of this world. This is the voice of the hidden instruction. It comes before major shifts. It comes before divine appointments. It comes before you're sent into rooms you don't feel ready for, but have already been prepared to transform. God is calling you deeper, not just louder. He's not looking for noise. He's looking for receptivity. And you've felt it, haven't you? In the silence before a major moment. In the stillness before a leap of faith. When everyone else had opinions, but you already knew. You didn't have words. You just had peace. And that peace, that internal yes, was louder than every external no. That's the voice. And here's the mystery you must understand. The world can argue with your logic, but it can never steal your revelation. When you hear this voice, even without hearing, you move differently. You speak differently. You choose differently, because you're no longer guessing. You're flowing. The chosen ones live from this place, not constantly questioning, but constantly receiving. And the more you trust the silence, the more heaven speaks. So now listen, because something else is approaching. You can't hear it yet, not with your ears, but something in your spirit already feels it. It's not a place. It's not a light. It's not a door or a shadow. It's the final vision, and it's alive. Prepare yourself, because what's coming next will not only speak to you, it will awaken what's been sleeping inside you for years. It happens in a moment you can't predict, a dream, a prayer, or silence so deep it feels eternal. And then suddenly, you feel it, not on your skin, not in your mind, but inside you, like something ancient. Woke up, an eye, but not your eye, opens. Not here, but here, inside. It doesn't blink. It doesn't It doesn't sleep. It just sees. It sees beyond flesh, beyond appearances, beyond the theater of this temporary world. It doesn't just observe. It pierces. It watches the invisible. It sees motives. It scans timelines. It feels truth. This is not imagination. It's not spiritual creativity. It's activation. This is the eye of the chosen, the final vision. The moment heaven stops whispering and starts pouring. Because once this eye opens, you are never blind again. You don't need confirmation. You are the confirmation. You don't need signs. You become one. This is what prophets carried. This is what seers were marked with. This is what made Joseph dream and interpret. What made Daniel unshakable in lion dens. What made Elijah outrun chariots. What made Jesus move with flawless precision. Sight beyond sight. You don't just see what's happening. You see why. You sense battles and atmospheres. You detect doors before they appear. You feel the shift in people's energy before they speak. You hear answers in silence. You recognize destiny in chaos, because the eye doesn't look with logic. It looks with light, and not earthly light, heavenly light. It's not taught. It's transferred. God gives it to those who endured the stairway, who waited at the door, who walked through darkness, who remembered their origin, who listened in silence. Only they are ready to carry this vision, because this eye is holy. And it only opens in those who have been refined by fire. You can't fake this vision. You can't manufacture it. It opens when heaven decides you're ready. And once it opens, you will begin to see everything differently. Pain turns to prophecy. Delay turns to development. Enemies reveal their purpose. And storms reveal your power. The illusion breaks, the lies unravel, the veils fall, and for the first time, you don't just believe, you know. You know you're chosen, you know you're called, you know you've been hidden for a divine reason, because the eye doesn't just show you others, it shows you yourself. And when that happens, you can no longer go back to who you were. It's not a motivational feeling, it's a spiritual rebirth. Your identity upgrades. Your hunger deepens, your prayers sharpen, your authority expands. And here's what's most dangerous. Once this eye opens, the enemy sees it too. He recognizes it, because he's seen it before. In the ones who shook kingdoms, split oceans, cast down strongholds, raised the dead, changed history. He fears this eye, because it means you've become fully awake. You've stopped playing. You've stopped shrinking. You've stopped second-guessing. Now, you see through every lie. You walk with unshakable peace. You speak with heaven-backed boldness. You carry the weight of someone who's seen behind the curtain. You've touched eternity. And once that happens, you're no longer just a human. You're a vessel of fire, of truth, of glory. The eye that opens within does not close again, and it doesn't just awaken you for your sake, it awakens you for others, because now you're not just being led, you're being used to deliver, to disrupt, to declare, to build, to battle. The eye sees assignments before anyone else knows they exist. And here's the mystery. The more you use what it shows you, the clearer it gets. It sharpens, it burns, it becomes your compass in a world that's forgotten the way. And right now, if you've made it this far, if something inside you is resonating, if this doesn't just sound true, but feels true, it's because your eye is starting to open. You're not just watching a video, you're experiencing activation. Everything before this moment was preparation. Every vision was a step. But this one, this final vision, is not about seeing more. It's about becoming more. Becoming what you were always meant to be, a seer, a sentinel, a disruptor, a chosen one. And now, something even greater is about to happen. Because with the eye open, your next assignment is already approaching. And, in the final words of this video, you're going to receive the release you've been waiting for. Brace yourself. The conclusion is coming. Listen closely. If even one of these visions struck your soul, if even one of them felt like it was written for you, it's because it was. This is not just another video. This was a summons. Heaven has been watching, waiting, preparing you in silence. For this moment, you were not scrolling. You were sent here, not to be entertained, but to be activated. The veil has lifted. The illusions are gone. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unknow what you now carry. You're not just awake, you are charged. The world you knew, it will never feel the same, because something inside you has shifted. And now, nothing ordinary will satisfy you again. This is your divine interruption. A line has been drawn. The invisible has been made visible. You have seen too much to go back, and now heaven is asking, what will you do with what you've been shown if you know this was for you? Then declare it. Stamp it into the atmosphere. Make your spirit heard in the heavens. Drop this in the comments right now. I accept your vision, Lord. Say it boldly. Type it like a prophecy. Let your fingers be your trumpet, because when heaven reveals, it expects a response, and when you respond, the supernatural begins to move, doors align, chains break, gifts activate, destiny unfolds. You're not just seen, you're marked for impact, marked for movement, marked to walk in a power this world cannot explain, and darkness cannot stop. So stand tall, speak loud, pray bold, because now you are not the same. You are awakened, you are chosen, you are rising, and you will be unstoppable.